Welcome to College Park, home of the Terps, getting set for year 2 of the DJ Durkin era. A successful debut season by most measures, doubled the win total from the previous season, got to a bowl game. Now the challenge is closing the gap between themselves and the teams at the top of the Big Ten East. And with that, we welcome you to College Park. Dave Revson, Jerry DiNardo, Howard Griffith, inside historic Cole Fieldhouse, the new indoor facility for the Terps.
Used to be round ball.
It did indeed.
Round ball.
In fact,
Short
very
pants.
significant.
Thank you. Short pants.
Yeah,
there you
very
go.
significant spot in the history of college basketball. Now part of a $155 million project for the football program. This is the first stage of it, and it is really beautiful, guys, and it couldn't have come at a more opportune time. This was raining cats and dogs out there today.
First full practice in here. We were here. They've walked through in here, but they haven't had a practice. But not only does it help in recruiting, but as DJ told us, it helps day-to-day operations. I mean, I remember when Randy Edsel was the head coach here, they had to go to Baltimore or Washington, the NFL franchises, to practice in the bad weather.
Twice during spring ball. You only get 15 practices, and twice they had to go off-site. So I think that's significant. He also mentioned just how enthusiastic the kids are about this. Seeing the reinvestment in the program has really been paying dividends for them.
I got to tell you, I was blown away when I came in here. I mean, you'd heard about it, and they said, well, we're turning Cole into an indoor, and it goes through your head, well, what's that going to look like? And what it looks like is,
it's very nice.
Absolutely spectacular. I had a chance to visit with the athletic director, Kevin Anderson. He couldn't be more pleased about what this means for the program. And as you guys said, that it has really rippled throughout the Maryland football, not just in terms of recruiting, but also with the guys who are already here and feeling like this is a program that's headed in the right direction. That's the challenge now. Year 2 under DJ Durkin, as I mentioned, did pretty well in year 1. So what makes this year special, and what do we need to see in year 2?
Well, to me, one of the first things I saw when I saw this team is I'm comparing it to what they looked like physically last year. And it's night and day, in my opinion. The body types have changed, and I think that's significant. And that's going to play well, particularly up front. That's where they've got to really be able to control the line of scrimmage. Are they there yet? Probably not, but they're making the right strides. We will walk out of this building saying that Maryland is headed in the right direction. They just have to get more consistency.
No doubt. I mean, 2 things jump out at you right away. The first one is what you said, how they are much more impressive than they were a year ago physically, especially at the line of scrimmage. The other thing, and DJ talks about this all the time, is, and this word's overused in college football, the culture has been installed. In other words, they're not coaching where you go in a drill. The drills, everyone knows the routine, everyone's doing that. So those are 2 positives. To me, the biggest question mark is you get your personality from your offense. This is a finesse offense. This is not a physical football team. And that can be an issue, especially in the East Division, especially with some of their crossovers, Minnesota and Wisconsin to the West. A lot of teams are finesse teams nowadays football, and a lot of teams win being a finesse football team, and that's what DJ has chosen to do here. I'm not so sure how that's going to go. I have some reservations because your personality is developed from your offense. Your defense usually suffers in these type of programs, so that would be my big question mark watching practice.
But I will say this. I think he's playing to the strength of the team, the strength of the roster. As the roster continues to change, they're going to be more physical at the point of attack as you see some of the younger guys that are coming up.
Well, I think he's going to have to change some of the schemes as well. I mean, most of their runs are side to sideline. You know, they're not really a downhill run team. And we've talked about this ever since Urban got to Ohio State, right? Because he managed to run a physical downhill spread team. It's very difficult to do. And I think the emphasis in this camp sounds like the pass game. It sounds like they're comfortable with what they've done in the run game a year ago. So no reason to think that's going to change. But it's not a physical run game. But they want to improve the pass game more than the run game.
Well, let me ask you this. They are in a brutal division, as we know, arguably the best division in college football. And the gap was pretty significant last year, to say the least. I mean, the games against the top 3 teams in the division, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, they were outscored 159-20. Right. So kind of to your point, Jerry, can you close the gap going at it schematically in the way they are going at it?
You can. My approach would be, instead of trying to catch them, I'm going to try to stay ahead of Rutgers and Indiana in my division. And every time I get a matchup opponent from the West, I'm going to put myself in position to win that. So I wouldn't be so concerned about chasing Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. I would be more concerned with staying ahead of Rutgers, Maryland, and any crossover West Division team that I play.
And what do you need to do to be able to do that? You've got to be able to recruit. And that's significant, and we've seen some of the young guys that they have on this roster that I think are really going to be some difference makers down the line. It's going to take some time, but this is a competitive team. You know, they're coming out and practicing very hard, but I think part of it is they've got to get turnovers on the defensive side, get a short field, and be able to make plays offensively.
Yeah, I agree with you, Howard. That's how you can stay ahead of Rutgers and Indiana. I would argue that that's not the way to stay ahead of the crossovers in the West. I think the way to stay ahead of the crossovers in the West is to have a defense that stops the downhill run. Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, and so on. So I think it depends on where you want to place your emphasis.
That was an issue last year. This was not a good run defense. They feel like they're better in the front seven.